Hi, welcome back to another video of TekCurious Bytes.
Today we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks on how to nail your interview technique.
We're going to start with preparation. It's really important that you do put a lot of preparation in before your interview.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things is doing your background research, and it's not just about reading the homepage on their website. You know, it's important to look at news articles, charity events they've recently done, it could be awards that they've won that are of interest to you, and just having a look at some of the social events they put together as well on their socials.
And then it's really important for you to revise your own experience. You're likely to be asked a lot of competency questions where it's really important that you structure your answers in a fluid way. One of the ways that we suggest is the STAR method, and that stands for situation, task, action and result. So when looking at your CV and thinking about your experience, I challenge you to go back and create case studies around each project, each role that you've performed, and how maybe you could apply a STAR response to each project achieved within your career.
Yeah, I think we see it so often, like interview feedback can sometimes be that questions were answered well, but they were textbook answers, but what clients want to see is real life examples and real life experiences where you've actually done that really.
Yeah, absolutely. Alongside revising your own experience, go through the company's job description again and look at the requirements that they have, the skills that they ask you to already have, and go through each one and challenge yourself to think of examples, clear evidenced examples in that STAR format for where you have demonstrated each skill that they're asking for. For example, if they're asking for you to have strong stakeholder management skills, think of a time where you managed tricky stakeholders. What was the task you were applying yourself to? What was the situation? What was the task? What action did you take to make that impact and get those stakeholders on side? And ultimately, what was the result? Did they fall in line with yourself? Like, did they, were they engaged? Were they on board with what you were trying to achieve?
Interesting, on the other day actually, I had a candidate that hadn't really interviewed much in his lifetime, and he was a bit nervous about some of the tricky and awkward questions that may come up, and he actually took some time to role play with his partner and run through what might have been asked. And it actually set him up really well for the interview the next day. They asked very similar questions, and it gave him the confidence to answer them because he'd already practiced his approach and how he was going to answer them.
Wow, that's really good piece of advice, and it's something that we give to candidates all the time, actually suggesting using us. I'll quite often say to a candidate that I have out on interview, let's get a Teams meeting in a day or two before your interview and run through this preparation again. What do you know about the company? What can you tell me about them? What questions are you going to ask? What key skills of your own are you going to showcase, and how are you going to do that? So do use us, draw on our experience and us as a sounding board.
Yeah, because it's not about trying to catch people out for not doing the prep. It's genuinely for them to say it out loud. I think it really helps it sink in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it exercises that muscle. We get good at something when we do it over and over again, but how many times do we do interviews in our life? Probably 5, 6, no more than that. So yeah, definitely practice.
So I guess that leads us on nicely to what questions should you prepare before an interview?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important that you prepare questions. You'll always be asked, and do you have any questions for us? And what you don't want to say is no. The reason why you want to ask questions is it gives you an opportunity to hold the floor and navigate the conversation yourself. So you can delve into kind of things you want to know about the company and you want to know about the role, but it also gives you an opportunity to showcase that you are very invested in the company itself.
I think it shows a level of interest, doesn't it? Depending on the questions you have prepared, it kind of, it demonstrates how interested you are to know more.
Yeah, without a doubt. Some of the questions you could prepare include what's the company strategy over the next 5 years? What can I expect from my first 6 months in this role? Or how would you measure success in this role over the first 6 months? You could also ask, what does the company do in terms of socials? If you have a mostly remote workforce, how do you engage that workforce regularly? You could also ask maybe what what the retention rate is, you know, how many people leave and how often, or what are the common reasons for people leaving, or flip that into more of a positive question, why do people stay? Why do people want to work here? Yeah. Now we want to talk about logistics, things like location, what you wear. Yeah.
I mean, I think it can sound really basic, but you'll be surprised how many horror stories we've had. People turning up to the wrong office, dressed very inappropriately.
Yeah, and things that you can mitigate with preparation. So give thought to the route, look it up on Google Maps, maybe practice the route if you're able to, plan where you're going to park, plan how long it will take, and give yourself that extra 20 minutes on your journey. You're also going to think about what you're wearing. It goes without saying, I feel like if you're watching this you might think, of course I'll wear something that's suitable. We joke, but we have seen candidates in flip-flops before. So give it some consideration. And now post-COVID, you know, a lot of offices have changed the way that they dress. So try not to just match what they do. They may be overly casual, but what you need to think about is it's your first impression you're making. So always err on the side of smart.
I think it's important to have some confidence. At the end of the day, you've been selected for an interview for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Think of all the people that have applied to this role and you're the one that's been selected. So it's your chance to put your best foot forward, show your best self and enjoy it. If you are visibly enjoying the interview, you will shine.